Alright, so now I'm going to talk about Baker Mayfield's news. And it was all brought to light, mainly because he's Baker Mayfield. He's a quarterback entering his second year. That's the main reason why it's being brought to light. A lot of attention around his comments on Hugh Jackson saying, in that first matchup when he left us, it's only human nature to want revenge, and he wanted revenge. But in order to understand all this, we got to go back to Baker Mayfield's quote-unquote past problems. So there was the crotch grabbing, of course, against Kansas and probably in some other teams. There was public intoxication that got caught on video. You probably saw in Colin Cowherd him getting tackled by some police, which is kind of funny. But from all of it, at least for the public intoxication, especially for the public intoxication, he apologized for it and he learned from it, and that's really, really important. He apologized and learned from it. He's not that type of guy. Now for the crotch grabbing, planting the flag, taking revenge after Kansas players refused to shake his hand, which ultimately led to the crotch grabbing, of course. That all comes from a competitive spirit. And I love that. Because I have the exact same thing. I don't go to that extent of crotch grabbing or all that stuff. I do trash talking. I do the occasional pointing or something like that. I don't point because the Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo fiasco, that's obviously why you don't point. But I love that about him, where he has that competitive spirit, because it pushes him to greatness. And it's viewed as a problem because he's not the stereotypical QB who's quiet, who has to lead by example, not necessarily a vocal leader, but by example. As a friend to teammates like Tom Brady, is more calm, cool, and collected, and focused on football only. He is more of the opposite, where he's loud, he's a vocal leader, he leads by charisma and action and energy. He's a friend, but you gotta be all in or you're not his friend, just like Duke Johnson. And that's where that whole thing devolved, where he was like, hey, you're my bud, but you gotta be all in on this team or not, because we're trying to win. He's focused on everything instead of focused only on football. He wants to know everything, wants to learn everything, use it as fuel for himself to go against other teams for that spark. And like I said, it was seen in the first encounter with Hugh Jackson leaving the Browns and going to the Cincinnati Bengals, where you had that infamous stare down. Loud, energetic, that same thing all in or out. He felt betrayed. He's focused on everything. He's in the moment. He's not focused only on football. He's focused on everything. And I think that's good. You just can't let it get too far. But the problem is no one talks about the other things that happen too. We only talk about Baker Mayfield because he's the quarterback and he doesn't fit that stereotypical mold. We don't talk about who it is. Joel Bitonio, who said Hugh went back to the enemy. So the whole team saw it as, hey, you got to be all in or you're not with us. You're either with us or you're not. And Hugh Jackson was not with them. He went to, quote unquote, what Joel Bitonio said, the enemy. Same thing with Demarius Randall. He had that same feeling as Baker Mayfield and Joel Bitonio. Hey, Hugh Jackson went to the enemy. He went to the enemy. And we saw it when he intercepted the ball from, I believe, Andy Dalton. He rushed over to the Cincinnati Bengals sideline and handed the ball to Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson was part of the Cincinnati Bengals. That wasn't a sign of respect. That was more of a, not necessarily disrespect, but kind of like a shove in the face saying, hey, you left us. This is what you get. But Baker Mayfield has every right to be upset. He's a vocal leader. And he has the right to express his feelings, of course. And by doing that, by him being betrayed feeling betrayed by Hugh Jackson and not having Duke Johnson be all in, it builds up the team energy. It increases it. that fighting spirit, it all increases it, so that they have more momentum, more motivation going into the season. I honestly have no problem with his comments. I honestly have no problem with it. If it came from Tom Brady, it'd be a bit abnormal because that's not Tom Brady. If it came from Aaron Rodgers, it's a bit abnormal. But this is Baker Mayfield. This is who he is. He's not that stereotypical QB who you want him to be. He's his own person. And by him doing all this, all it does is fuel up the team. Because they need that motivation going into this next season, his second season, to get into the playoffs. And I believe that he's fueling them up with that chip on their shoulder. Because he's always had that chip on his shoulder. Going from walk-on to NFL, but he was picked first. So he needs to add or manufacture another chip on his shoulder. Just like Tom Brady. Tom Brady does this the same year. Every single year. He hears people saying he's old. Alright, I'm gonna win another Super Bowl. Another Super Bowl is on the way. So all this is Baker Mayfield doing the exact same thing, just in a different way. He's firing his team up, he's firing himself up, building that momentum, building that motivation, that chip on the shoulder, to go into this next season to lead his team to the playoffs. Thank you for listening to the G-Truth, and one only good truth with your host, myself, Giovanni Canales. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube, on my channel, Gio Canales. You can look it up on YouTube. And also be sure to subscribe or follow this podcast on your favorite podcasting app. And be sure to stay tuned and return whenever I upload another podcast. It's going to be probably weekly. But be sure to stay tuned in, and thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Peace out.